Welcome back to our episode. Ryan here with Chaos Man. Today we have on, I should say, the new featherweight champion of Eternal MMA, Justin Van Heerden. Justin, man, how are you doing?
Good, man. Good. Happy to be back. Happy to be, back on the show, having a chat. Yeah, and like you said, and new. So we got it done. We got the job done.
Yeah, and new and was that the belt behind you when you first joined? Is that the belt?
That's the belt right
There we go.
there.
Congratulations, man. I remember us talking on the show. I think it was back in like September about you wanting to go out there and just get that belt, and here we are. Fine, you got it. You got the belt. And for you, how does it feel to get the job done? This is like the first goal. Is this kind of like the first goal for you? Because I'm sure you have many others you want to accomplish now. So like, does it feel good to get this one done?
Yeah, for sure. It was like for me, it was about capping off the year that I've had, winning that title, and then kind of, cement, even though I already knew I was, like just cementing myself as the clear number one featherweight in the region. Um, so, that the winning the Eternal Featherweight title, that's my second Australian title. So, in terms of, ticking off that off the list, it wasn't so much about winning the actual belt. It's more so the meaning behind it, what it sort of sets me up to do. Because we've seen sort of previous champions in the promotion go on to fight in the UFC now, such as like Casey O'Neill, Jack Jenkins, Jack Della. So, it's the biggest promotion in the region. Being a champion for this promotion, going on to defend the belt a few times, kind of sets you up to make that leap to the next level, which is obviously where I feel like I should be competing. And I mean, looking at my year, I think I've warranted that already. But I guess that's sort of why we didn't waste any time in booking a first title defense for February next year. So, I don't want to sort of wait around or try and sit and kind of hope that something's going to come. Like I'd rather just go and continue what I've been doing, just make myself undeniable and go take it. So yeah, I mean, it's certainly a cool goal to tick off, a good way to finish the year. But yeah, there's still sort of no signs of slowing down anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look like you're gonna be slowing down anytime soon. And we talked about, I know you got the fight booked. I do want to get into that fight, the one that you just got booked. But before that, let's talk about the previous one you just got. So,
Yeah.
fight week, how were you feeling during fight week? Like, what was it like? Were you zoomed in, like you were ready to go out there and just make a statement?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I talk about, I guess it gets to the point after a camp, you do a camp, you do all that work, you do all those tough sessions, and you get to fight week, you kind of reset a little bit.
Yeah.
And then, the body gets a couple of days where it's sort of, you get a break, you get to recover. And then it's about, making, getting your weight down, making weight, ensuring that you're doing that properly. And just refining those last sort of bits, I guess, before you go out there and compete. But I talk about it all the time. Like I enjoy all of that. Like even the weight descent. That in fight week you start water loading. Your diet changes. You're a bit more. Things are a bit more measured out, a bit stricter. Like I enjoy all of that. And then when I'm in there cutting weight, whether it's in the sauna or the other various options that you have to do it, I just like enjoy that whole process because I know that it's sort of the last little hill that you have to go up before you get to the peak, and then you can sort of go out and perform and do the thing that you've been working towards. So in fight week, yeah, I just kind of enjoy myself, just locked in really, and then got to the actual the sort of venue or even like flying up there, getting to the hotel, checking in, making sure that you're sort of on deck, and then ready to go for the weigh-ins and then ready to go for the actual fight day and stuff like that. I just sort of, yeah, I was just locked in, having fun. And then, yeah, obviously, getting to the actual, I guess, weigh-ins, having that first sort of opportunity to size up the man that you're going to be, standing across from in the cage, kind of get there, a feel for what they're like, what sort of energy they're putting out, how they look. You make all those little sort of assessments, I guess, in that time period, like when you're there and you're doing your face off and stuff like that. There's opportunities there where whether people realize it or not, like you're subconsciously like giving off certain things and certain tells. And I made my reads in that moment because I kind of looked at Diego and I was like, all right, he didn't look sucked out. He didn't look like he had a tough weight cut. So I like, that's something that I've automatically then put into my brain. Like, okay, I'm expecting that this guy is going to be, in shape. He's going to be fit. He's going to recover well in between rounds if the fight does end up going, a bit longer or something like that. So, these are all like little reads that you can make before you actually get in there and compete. But yeah, as far as being, during fight week, I'm just enjoying myself because I know that I'm gonna get to do the thing that I've been working towards.
No, yeah, we hear with fighters they love the face off because, like you said, they get to see and feel for their opponent before they finally step in there. And besides, like seeing like he didn't have a bad weight cut and everything with the first face off, did you notice anything else about him, or it was kind of just like you saw, like he wasn't sucked in, he was kind of feeling good?
Yeah, well, like I said, looking at him, I could tell he was feeling good. He had a good weight cut, and I was like, okay, cool. And that kind of excited me a little bit in itself because I'm like, all right, I know that I'm getting the best version of Diego in the best shape, and he obviously, he didn't have a bad weight cut, so there's no like hindrance or hurdles or anything like this. Guy's coming in, he's coming in ready. But I guess the biggest thing when I compare that face off to when we first fought 5 years ago, um, you know, I could tell by looking at him that there was I could tell that he was looking at me going, "Oh man, this is way different to what I thought it was going to be." I feel like my size and that kind of definitely was something that was weighing on him because I could tell when he was looking at me like that he could tell like, oh, it's a whole different ball game. Like I'm a lot bigger now than I was even then, and I was a lot bigger than him then, but I'm a lot bigger, carry a lot more muscle mass. Like I'm really big and tall and long for this weight class. So I feel like I got that. I got a little bit of that vibe of him that like he realized, oh, okay, like things are vastly different than the first time round. And then there's those little things like after we had our face off and we returned to the front, they take a bunch of pictures and stuff like that. I could tell he like he was trying to amp himself up and like get himself motive like sort of amp himself up, get himself like into it, like like because I could tell that he was like I guess a bit, I wouldn't say worried, I think,
Yeah.
but definitely like definitely caught off guard by the man that was standing across from him. So I feel like that definitely played a factor.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it, the face off. It seemed like everything went well. You did your thing. Like you did it. And I think we catched up on this in the interview back in September. Like when you're walking out, what are you going to be thinking? Because this is a big moment for yourself, going out there, going get this belt and showing the world who you are. So now, a couple months later, what were you thinking when you during this walk? Like, was there anything going through your mind?
Well, out the back, I was sort of just doing the same thing. Like before the fight, I was sort of just had my hands wrapped, was just moving around, being loose.
Yeah.
The banter was happening, sort of back and forth with the other people that were sort of out there, and then between like Joe and like Eugene and stuff like that. So it was the same sort of energy and environment that I'd have like at a Saturday sparring session. So, I'm already so calm and reserved and sort of chill through this whole process, but that makes it that little bit better. But then actually walking out, like I was waiting to walk out, and I just remember sort of the mute, like my walkout song started playing. I started making my walk out, and the only thing I sort of said to myself before I just started soaking in the whole moment and everything, I just had this moment where I was like, all right, go and get this belt. You said that you were going to go and get this belt. Let's go and take it now. Like, this is it. Like, let's just go and do that. Let's go do what we've been working towards and what we said we were going to do. You have that little sort of, I guess, couple seconds as a pep talk for yourself. And then the rest of it was just walking out, soaking it all in, soaking in the energy from the crowd, soaking in, the song playing, the lights being on, the cameras rolling, like just embracing the moment and realizing, all right, cool, I get to go do my thing now. It's time to go fight. It's time to go compete.
Yeah, well, I mean, you did go and do your thing. Unanimous decision. Every judge thought you won. Like there was no split. It was unanimous. Every judge said you won that fight. So for you, what were your thoughts on the performance? How do you feel you did? Like you feel like this was one of your best performances to the date?
I mean, immediately after the fight, I think if people watch it back, they can see this. Immediately after the fight, I was talking to Joe in the cage already about things that I could have done better, things that I need to improve on, things that I want to work on. Because at the end of the day, like that's like even like then, like immediately after, I haven't even the fight we haven't even read the decision out or anything like that yet. We were still waiting, but I was already looking at what I can do better, where I can improve, because I think that's just a big part of it. Like I need to, and that I'll sort of maintain is like, okay, let's already pick up the things that we want to do better at and improve on. And we'll soak up the other stuff, like the good things, and we'll soak up the moment later on. But let's immediately that's the first thing that pops in my head. Um, so, but then when I actually sat down the next day, watched the fight back and everything like that. Um, yeah, I was pretty happy with my performance. I mean, like you sort of touched on, it was unanimous. Um, four, I definitely won round 1, 2, 3, and 4. He came back in the fifth. I had a bit of success in the first half of the round, but he was able to reverse position, get some top control, and maintain control for like a good sort of portion. I think it was like 2 minutes or so. So I can see why they would score the fifth round to him. But I was kind of in my mind in that fifth round. I was thinking, I could take a few risks right now, and to improve my position. I wasn't really being threatened by anything because he was finding it hard to sort of, I guess, attack with any chokes and stuff like that. And then the punches, because he was so labored from the other 4 rounds, the punches and stuff that he was throwing when he was trying to punch and stuff, there was no sort of real threat there. There was nothing in it. So I just knew that I had to be smart and be disciplined. Like, yeah, I could take a risk trying to prove my position, go for something, but then I do give this guy a position. He gets under my neck, and I'm unconscious on the ground, wondering what happened. And in a fight where I was clearly winning. I mean, we've seen that earlier this year. We've seen that multiple times now, where someone's winning a fight, they're going into the fifth round and they get beat. That was definitely something I was thinking about, and I was listening to Joe and Eugene and just going like, okay, I was pretty confident that I was up 4 rounds, and I was like, okay, I just need to be smart here. It doesn't matter if this round doesn't go my way or if but I just can't make a mistake and put myself at risk. But overall, like rounds 1 to 4, I was very happy with the work that I did in those rounds. I was able to sort of dictate what was happening. I was able to find a lot of success with my wrestling. Um, you know, in the third round, I was able to drop him and hurt him a couple of times. So, I think everything sort of came together, and I was able to showcase, a rounded sort of skill set again, and kind of, I guess, reinforce what I've sort of been saying. And that is, if people take me as a guy who's just a wrestler who's going to come in there and try to grind you out, which I can do, but if that's the only threat that you see, well, then you're going to do yourself a disservice. And I feel like, I don't think Diego did that. I definitely don't think he came into the fight thinking that. I think he was, well prepared for, wherever the fight was going to take place. And, props to him. And I said this straight after, not many people could be put in a position like he was in, man, and come back in the fifth round and then try and like win the round, but then still be trying to win the fight and trying to do those things. Like a lot of people, wouldn't have been able to come back from that. A lot of people wouldn't have survived that third round. So, credit to him. He's that dude's got all the heart in the world and he's very tough. So, am I surprised by that? No, obviously we have a shared history. I kind of knew that, I'd have to, either put him unconscious or break an arm or something to be able to get him out of there. But, yeah, overall, I was happy with my performance. Definitely some things to improve on and work on. But, all in all, very happy and very happy with the result of, capping off the year that way. 4 fights inside 10 months with 3 finishes and a title. It's a pretty, big year for me.
Nah, I mean, having that many fights, that's active, and it shows you really want to get in there. And because some fighters fight like once or twice a year, but for you, that's 4 times. And I find it so cool how you immediately after the fight, you're already talking to your coach about what you can improve on. Not even like you didn't even leave doctor night, you were already talking to him. So it was great to see that win, new champion. And then we find out a little bit later, you already have a fight book for February 11th. I mean, it's already booked. Like you're already getting back in there. You talked about activity, you're already getting back in there. So when did this all come about? Like, how long after the fight did this come about?
So I fought on the Friday night. I flew back home early on the Saturday, and then the Monday afternoon after the fight, like the Monday afternoon, I was in the gym, and then I came in for the afternoon session, and then Joe kind of pulled me aside at one stage and said, "Hey, I got it locked in. I got your fight locked in with Rod Costa. You're fighting him in February." So I was like, "Cool, all right, we're back to it." So a couple of days there, I think there was like maybe 2, 3 days where I kind of just like kept it. Like I still trained because obviously Volk's in camp as well, so I still was in there, for a couple of days. But then, once I got told, all right, we're definitely confirmed, I think the camp, like the actual sort of hardest sessions and stuff, and the proper camp will start in like a week or two's time. But I'm still training twice a day and stuff now, twice, still working, still, I didn't take any break, I didn't take any sort of time off. So it was just kind of like, cool, all right, we're back to business, like let's go. So it was pretty much, yeah, pretty much straight away, like I knew I was going to fight again. I kind of anticipated that I was going to fight, or at least book a fight for February, knowing that, I'm going to have something locked in. I'm going to be in camp and I'm going to be working. Like, as I said last time when we spoke, like, I mean, it's there's a few factors that have to sort of come into play. But if the opportunity did come up for me to slot into that, Perth card for the UFC card, like if something happened or, they did call or something, I'm already going to be in camp to fight on that same weekend. So I'll be in shape and I'll be ready regardless. But there's a few factors obviously that have got to, I guess, come together for that to be a thing. So I'm not really sort of, I wouldn't say I'm getting my hopes up for anything like that, but I'm taking comfort in the fact that I'm going to be in camp, I'm going to be preparing, I'm going to be ready, and I'm preparing for a title fight. So I'll be preparing for 5 minute rounds. So on the off chance that something does come to fruition, I'm going to take comfort knowing that I'll be more than prepared.
Yeah, I mean, no matter if the opportunity comes, like you're saying, you're already in camp, so you will be prepared. And one of the main things I saw about this upcoming fight is vengeance. You said vengeance was one of like the clear things in your post. You want to get this one back. So how motivated are you to get this one back? You fought this guy already. How much do you want to get back in there and show him last time was not how it should go?
Man, it's just more than I can almost put into words. Like, this is the only loss that I have that I actually sit there that stings me and that I actually go, oh man, like that just wasn't me. Like, and it's one that the immediately after I was like, that's on me that I lost that fight. It's not, you know, I can look at some of my other fights that I've had, and and like even the first fight with Diego, I can look at that fight and look at that loss and go, okay, cool. You're like, I lost. That does suck. Losing does suck, and it's never going to not suck. But I can look at that fight and go, okay, cool. I lost. That guy, he did the job on the night, and it's the same with the first fight with Costa. Like, he was better than me on the night. He did the job. He got the job done. He capitalized on a mistake that I made, and put me away, which isn't taking anything away from him. But I just know for a fact that it's like like a split second decision on my part where I got lazy and lapsed with my distance that led to me getting clipped with a shot that put me in danger and that ultimately led to a finish. So yeah, I'm super motivated to get in there and showcase that. If it's almost, yeah, to showcase that, like, if we were to fight 10 times, 100 times, that's that one out of 100 that, where he'd get me. Like, especially in that way. Like, obviously, if I lost to Rod the first time round and it was by like submission, I wouldn't sit, I'd be pretty cut up that I lost, and I'd obviously be annoyed that I lost the fight. But to lose to him by submission wouldn't be as, wouldn't sting as much. He's a world medalist in jiu-jitsu and he's got really, really good grappling, really, really, he's really credentialed. So, I guess it would soften the blow a little bit, but to get get clipped with a left hook and then followed up with, some punches and then for the ref to stop it, in that way, I was kind of like, man, that just shouldn't happen. Like, but it just shows the evolution that he made in those couple of fights before we fought. And even since then, he's made the same sort of, evolution as well, and sort of rounding out his game. So I'm certainly expecting that, this time round, I'm going to have the opportunity to showcase that I am the better fighter and the opportunity to go out there and get the win, but knowing that I'm doing it against a better version of Rod Costa and probably, the best version of Rod Costa that, I can expect, because he's obviously, improved leaps and bounds since that first fight as well. So I know I'm not stepping in there with the same guy. And he's a champion in his own right. He went out there, dropped a weight division and did work and won the bantamweight title. So, I know that this fight's just like my fight with Diego. I know it's a vastly different fight. We're vastly different fighters compared to that first fight. So I'm excited by that, but I'm definitely motivated at the prospect of getting this one back. Like, I really want to get this one back.
No, I mean, that's what I love about rematches, because they already been in there together. You already been in there with him. You kind of know his style. You know a little more about him. And speaking of that, Are there some things you learned from that previous fight you think are going to help you for this fight? How he fights, how he keeps your distance. Like, have you seen anything from that previous fight? Like, you're like, I'm going to go capitalize for this one in February.
Yeah, I mean, if I watched the if you watch the if I was sort of watch the first fight back, like the first half of that sort of engagement, I guess everything that I was doing was working, and I was sticking to the plan and doing what I needed to do. I was controlling the distance. I was, I'd land my shots. I'd not, I wouldn't get hit. There wouldn't be the opportunity for him to return, and that's in fighting, that's the ultimate goal. Like Joe always says that, and I think it's sort of a shared philosophy between everyone. Is like you want to get in, get your work in, but not give them a chance to get anything back. And I feel like I was doing that effectively. And then, as I said, I lapsed with my distance, got caught, and then just kind of things just sort of unraveled from there. So definitely, if I just do what I've been doing in my recent performances. I just sort of trust in my skill set. Utilize my footwork, utilize my stance changes, utilize my distance. Work the feints in. I feel like I'm going to have, a lot more success and, be able to sort of replicate the first part of that first fight, a bit more and kind of, just stick to that. And I think the bigger thing too is, as credentialed a grappler as Rod is, and as talented as he is, he's a well-rounded mixed martial artist, but obviously his grappling is, quite a high level. At the end of the day, it's MMA. We're not in a jiu-jitsu match. Like if we were having a straight jiu-jitsu match, I might have some concerns, but it's an MMA fight. So I just need to not put too much respect on, like, obviously if you let that guy get to a dominant position on you, you're going to have a bad time. But at the end of the day, like it's an MMA fight and I need to, you know, approach it that way. Like I can't give his jiu-jitsu too much respect and not engage in those scenarios with him, because then ultimately that's going to open more doors for him than it does for me. So, I feel like, yeah, it's going to be a case of utilize my natural attributes, utilize my reach, utilize my, my footwork, but then, get in there and engage in the wrestling and the grappling and stuff like that as well, and look to capitalize on those positions and avoid the traps or the adversity that he might throw my way, but then, utilize what I'm able to do to go out there and ultimately try and get a finish, but definitely get a win.
Yeah, I will. I mean, the rematch, like you guys got better from that fight. It was about like a year ago, 2021. So you both got better. You're both improving. And, we asked you on the last show. We're going to ask you again. Justin wins by blank on February 11th. How do you see yourself getting the job done and getting your hand raised on this date?
I'm going to say that inside the distance, I'm going to find the finish, but I feel like it'll be as much as I'd love to submit this guy and get another submission and add to that. I feel like, that's going to, that'd be a tough task with this dude. I feel like, that's sort of reaching a little bit. So I'm going to say inside the distance, I'm going to TKO this guy.
And you go out there, you TKO him February 11th, a title defense to your resume. I guess you could say. And do you feel after this, the UFC is next, because you are getting close. I feel like the breakthrough is kind of like right there. Do you kind of feel like that, how it is for you? Like you're right there with the UFC?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like, to be honest, this matchup is all risk for me and sort of minimal risk for him, because, he's coming up in weight to fight me. If he loses to me, he goes back down to bantamweight. He's still the bantamweight champ. Like it's neither here nor there. It doesn't really affect him that much in the long run. For me, if I lose, I lose the featherweight, I lose the title. And then I kind of get, it kind of knocks that momentum back after, the run that I've been on. So, I mean, but that's what excites me. It's high risk, high reward, right? Like I go out there, perform, defend my belt. Yeah, without a doubt, it's like that's kind of like the cherry on top, to kind of cement myself as being the person that, deserves that next shot. Like, like I already sort of said, I'm ranked number one at featherweight in the region. I'm ranked number one pound for pound in the region. Like, a title defense and a title defense against someone of Costa's caliber, who's a current champion himself, that's gonna carry some weight. So I would for sure suspect that, that's what we'd be talking about next. That after that fight, I'd be looking at the UFC after that. But like I said, I mean, there's plenty of things that can happen between now and February, but I'm just taking comfort in the fact that I'm going to be, prepared and ready and in shape for whatever comes my way.
Yeah, I mean, you go out there, you do the job February 11th. I mean, it seems like it's going to be close. It seems like it is. It's going to be a great fight February 11th. Title defense for yourself. Can't wait. And, last thing here, I do got to ask you, your teammate Alexander Volkanovski, he is fighting Islam Makhachev for the belt in February. So a lot of people are counting him out. You're his teammate. You know more about it, how it goes on behind the scenes, how his training is going. So what are your thoughts on that? How do you think he's going to do against Islam, and why do you feel like people are counting him out already? He's the pound for pound best in the world. What do you feel like?
Um, I think that people are looking at the run that Islam's had,
Yeah.
um, and you know, I guess they're sort of just taking solace in the fact that he's had this dominant run. He's obviously under Khabib. They're kind of, I guess that sort of carries over a little bit. It's the dominance that Khabib showed, the similarities between him and Islam. And then, that all factors into people looking at this fight and they're just like, oh, nah, he's just going to go out there and do his thing. It's not going to be close. But counting Volko out is like the worst thing you can do. Like, him being the underdog and being counted out in a fight is what he's sort of had from the start, really. And then even when he won the belt and became champion, like he's had that the whole time, the whole way through. It wasn't until, he ran through Ortega, ran through Zombie, and then ran through Max for the third time that the people are finally like, oh, okay. Like people started like, giving him some credit, which is ridiculous because he's only lost once in the sport and it was at welterweight. So it wasn't, he's undefeated at featherweight, hasn't lost. He's undefeated at lightweight. He's undefeated at middleweight. Like the guy is he's got one loss on his record.
I know.
So it's just crazy to me that he's had this crazy win streak. He's had this dominant run. He's fought the best of the best. I guess Islam's fought one person inside the top five. And, what are we doing? Like, how are you comparing that? But I mean, obviously he's doing some work. We got some high level people involved. We got people like Craig Jones, Frank Hickman, that are involved, that are down here. And everyone's sort of helping put him through his paces. Like he's going to be more than ready, man. And I keep saying it, but the skill separation on the wrestling side and on the grappling side is, a lot smaller than people think it is. But in terms of even that side of things, right? Let's say it goes worst case scenario. Islam gets a hold of him, gets him down, is able to solidify a position. There's a big difference between doing that and, like you look at it, even with the fight with Oliveira, like he was able to hurt Oliveira on the feet. He dropped him and then he immediately jumped on him and capitalized on that and then got the position and secured a finish. That's a vastly different than, trying to take someone like Volk down. Then you got to try and control him. And then once you've controlled him, now you got to start threatening a submission or an attack to look for a finish. Like there's so many factors involved in that process to be able to do that. And he is not easy to hold down. He's not easy to get down. He's not easy to hold down. He's just not easy to deal with. And that was before he decided to bulk up a little bit. It's going to be a lightweight. So he's obviously filled out a little bit and packed on a bit of size. Like the guy used to be absolutely gigantic. And when he sort of trimmed down and started fighting at featherweight and stuff like that, like your body is so used to carrying around all that extra weight. Like your muscles that develop in a different way when you were sort of, over 200 pounds carrying that weight around. Now you're fighting at 145, 155. Like there's a different sort of strength and stuff that comes with that. So I think people are going to be very surprised when those grappling exchanges and wrestling exchanges don't sort of go Islam's way in the way that it should. And then, I mean, anytime that fight's on the feet and there's no grappling or wrestling or clinching involved, like he's in trouble. Islam's in trouble because he won't cope with speed. He won't cope with the power. He won't cope with the distance management. He won't cope with the fight IQ that Volk has. It's just going to be an uphill battle for him in that sense. If I honestly believe if Islam can't take Volk down, secure position, and get a submission in round one, he is screwed. Like the fight's just not going to go his way after that. Like that's his best chance. You're dry, you're fresh. You're a big guy. You're a strong guy. You've got really good wrestling, really good grappling. Round one, that's the round. That's your best chance. If you don't get him inside the first round, like with that game plan, yeah, you're gonna have a problem. And then as it goes, if like we've seen what happens to people when they come out for that, third, fourth, fifth round against Volk. Like he's very good at utilizing the time that he has to do his work. So if you have to come out for a third, fourth round, fifth round against him, he's gonna light you up. And that's when he just gets better. I don't know if people sort of pay attention, but if you look at the last fight with Max, his accuracy, his significant strikes, all of that went up as the fight went on. So his numbers got better as the fight continued on. Um, so that in itself is a sort of a big factor. Like the longer the fight goes, the more damage this guy does, and the better he gets. So yeah, and he makes those reads. He's got probably the best fight IQ in the game. It's like him and John Jones are probably the two top people I go for fight IQ in the sport. So all of those are factors that are going to come into play. But I think people are going to be surprised. I think they're in for a sort of a big surprise, and the fact that people are counting him out and sort of saying that it's not going to be close is ridiculous because I see this fight being competitive. I ultimately see Volk winning. I even see Volk potentially get the finish, but um, like one thing that will be certain is this fight will be competitive. These are two of the best guys on planet Earth in the sport. It's going to be competitive. It's not going to be a washout either way.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to see, like you're saying, like Volk figures you out like he right away, like he knows what you're doing after like that first round. And I personally think it's kind of just crazy, like the odd wise, after like what Volk did to Max Holloway the third time around, no one does that to Max Holloway, just dominating the fighters and doing his thing. I think it's crazy how the odds are kind of so spread out. But it's gonna be an interesting fight. I can't wait to see that one play. I think it's gonna be very close, like you were saying too. Gonna be a great one there. But for you guys, February 11th, tune in for Justin's title fight. Going to be a great one. And for you, you want to thank any sponsors, shout out any social media, man. The floor is yours.
Yeah, man. So yeah, CMBT Nutrition, they're probably one of my big sponsors. Eddie's Barbershop here where I'm based in Wollongong. And then obviously, yeah, just my team and coaches at Freestyle, Joe, Alex, Colby, just the team down there, everyone that sort of helps me do what I'm able to do. And then ultimately the biggest sort of shout out is my daughter, Justice. Like that's who I'm sort of trying to set this example for. I'm pursuing this thing that I'm passionate about. I'm hoping that one day when she gets to that point where she wants to pursue something, it doesn't matter what it is, that she's going to be able to look at this and go, oh, okay, if I just lock in and do this, I'm going to be able to get what I want out of this. So ultimately I know as much as I have my own sort of selfish goals in this sport and things that I want to achieve, I know that there's a bigger picture. So that's what I'm doing it for.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can't wait for your fight, man. We'll be tuned in. And thanks again for your time, man. We'll catch up after the fight.
Appreciate it. Look forward to it.
Have a good one, man. Me too. Thank you.